Every Christian should have three kinds of relationships in their life. You should have a Paul, someone who's an older person who models Jesus for you. That's like your spiritual mother or father. You know, they've walked down the road before you. They're not perfect, but like you can follow after them. Then you need a Barnabas, who's like a soul brother or sister, who's like with you in the journey, who knows you can be vulnerable with, like they're not impressed by you. They'll call you out. They'll ask you how you're doing in your life. And then you need a Timothy, someone who's younger that you're pouring into and mentoring and praying for and encouraging and developing. So that model with Paul of just seeing how from the earliest days, like he's empowering young leaders, he's training them up, he's sending them out to do real ministry work. And that's how the church continues. Yeah, we talked in Boulder about how, you know, there's lots of metaphors for the church in the New Testament. And one of the more common ones is the church is a family. And that's the language that Paul's using here.
Right.
And so we all have to sort of set aside our own personal experiences with our fathers, which can help or hurt.
Yes.
In my case, I think my example of a father was really helpful in this case because my dad was loving. He was a great example for me. He's the kind of man that I would like to be as a husband and a father and a follower of Jesus, all those things. So I'm really blessed to have had a wonderful model of a father. And so in that case, I think I'm helped to see how Paul's affection for the followers of Jesus in Corinth is one of like fatherly love, you know, and the importance of a mother and a father in the life of children in the family unit is like they're the most important influential voice.
Right.
And I don't think what Paul's doing here is trying to be authoritative or you have to listen to me because I'm your spiritual father. But I think he's just trying to communicate to them his affection for them in the context of sort of reprimanding them.
Right. Let's go a little further into this idea of fathering. Do you think it's important for us to have spiritual fathers and mothers?
Oh my gosh.
In our faith?
Yeah. I mean, I was reflecting this week too on so many men and women who have been examples to me in my life of what it means to follow Jesus. And that's one of my favorite things about our church.
Right.
Is there are so many people who have been following Jesus longer than I have that I've been able to be around and learn from and watch and see them model what it means to follow Jesus.
Right.
And I mean, I could just I don't even know how many names I could list off of people who have been an example to me. And I think, you know, the Psalms say one generation shall declare your mighty acts to another.
Yeah.
You know, like that's,
I love that psalm.
That's part of that's just part of what a church is meant to be, is that there are generations and there's generations at Calvary. And when you're part of a church that's been around for 135 years, you know, there's people who've been here a long time and people who are new. Right. And that's like a strength of ours that we can, you know, model what it means to follow Jesus to people who are younger.
Yeah. For someone who doesn't have a spiritual father or mother, how do you go about getting them?
Well, I think that's where you have to jump in and find connection points. I think there's so many ways that can happen.
Right.
Like we have cool mentoring programs that are great ways you can just say, I'd like a mentor.
Right.
I think you can do that, you know, in like men's and women's Bible studies, in life groups. Just by serving at the church, you're going to bump into and meet people and be able to serve alongside them and develop relationships. I mean, that those things, to be fair, do take time.
Take a long time.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits of just saying, I'm gonna try to get connected with people, and then, you know, take advantage of opportunities when people invite you into that kind of relationship. You know, I'm thinking of a friend I know who was invited into, hey, you want to get together and study the Bible with me by an older man? Like, that's awesome.
Right.
You know, and you say yes. Like, that might be a new experience for me, but I'm going to try that and see what comes of it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's really good. I think it takes some humility and patience, prayerful patience.
Totally.
Asking the Lord to provide someone like that in your life, and then having the humility to, because it's not easy, because most of my spiritual fathers and mothers, those individuals who really have guided me in seasons, they weren't always agreeing with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were pressing me.
Right. Paul's not agreeing with his spiritual children. Right. Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of humility to
Totally.
say, okay, what they're saying is true.
Yeah.
How does that affect me?
Yeah, that's hard.
What do I need to do?
And it's interesting you say it takes humility. I mean, one of the things that Paul calls out in these verses is the arrogance of some of the people in Corinth.
Yeah, totally.
And like, man, that is just a stumbling block to having those kinds of relationships is arrogance. And it does take deep humility.
Right.
On both sides of like, I'm willing to pour my life out for another person, and for sort of the people who are younger in the faith, a humility and a desire and a willingness to learn. Mm-hmm. But man, when you say like, I don't have this thing totally figured out, and no one does, and you know, that's the other thing about spiritual mothers and fathers. They're not perfect.
No. And
you can't expect them to be. They're going to have flaws and weaknesses.
Yep.
And the best ones are going to admit that to you. Right. But when you're willing to say, you know, I want to learn from other people, and that's the kind of person I could learn from, you know, I think you grow because of that. You know, you want to mimic the people who have deep and abiding faith in Jesus most of all. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about our world today, there are so many guides you could follow in the Christian world. And that's a benefit. Like, I think I've benefited from listening to, you know, pastors who preach at a church somewhere else in the world that I've never met before.
Right.
And I don't have a personal relationship with them, and they've benefited me. But that's not the same as like my pastor that I get to live life with and see and watch and learn how they conduct themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like my relationship personally with Tom is way more than just what I've learned from him when he's preached on Sundays and I've listened to him, although I've learned a ton there.
Right.
It's like watching him live his life and learning from him in the way that he conducts himself. You know, that's just more valuable than like listening to someone that you've never met. You don't get to see how they live.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Paul's saying. You've watched me live. I lived with you for he was in Corinth for like 18 months.
18 months.
Yeah. So they know him. They
Right.
watched him follow Jesus. And he's saying, you know, continue to follow me.
I think you're making a really great case for the local church as well. And I'm like you. I've benefited from international pastors who somehow I got connected to and listening to them preach. I've benefited from them. However, there's nothing that can supplement you being under the care of someone who is local.
Yeah.
And knowing them and knowing their life. And that's the danger of this celebrity culture we have in pastoral life right now.
Yeah.
We've got to be around these people.
And I also, I don't want to say that like the only people we learn from are pastors.
Right.
Like that was just an example in my life. And to be clear, the people that I've talked about that have also been spiritual fathers and mothers in my life are not pastors.
Many of them are not.
And I've learned so much from them too, primarily of watching them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
watching them live their life, watching them raise kids, watching them be grandparents, watching them serve at the church in their particular ministry, and admired the way that they've done that. And yeah, like when you're with people and relationally connected to them, it's just so much better than like, well, I'm just going to listen to someone I've never met talk about how to raise kids. That can be beneficial,
Right.
but it's not as beneficial as like witnessing someone do it and learning that way. So Howard Hendricks, who was a professor at Dallas Theological Seminary, trained a ton of pastors. He said every Christian should have 3 kinds of relationships in their life. Have you ever heard this?
No.
Oh, this is great. You should have a Paul, someone who's an older person who models Jesus for you. That's like your spiritual mother or father. You know, they've walked down the road before you. They're not perfect, but like you can follow after them. Then you need a Barnabas, who's like a soul brother or sister who's like with you in the journey.
Right.
You know,
An encourager.
Yeah.
Just
they're with you, who knows you can be vulnerable with, like
Right.
they're not impressed by you. They'll call you out. They'll ask you how you're doing in your life. And then you need a Timothy, someone who's younger that you're pouring into and mentoring and praying for and encouraging and developing.
That's so
And like
good.
every person who follows Jesus needs those three kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
And so that model with Paul of just seeing how from the earliest days, like he's empowering young leaders, he's training them up, he's sending them out to do real ministry work. It's not like Paul always comes to the rescue, right? Like he sends Timothy, and he coached Timothy, and he gave him advice, and he mentored him, and he trained him up, and then he released him to ministry. And that's how the church continues. If Paul had done it all on his own, like maybe the church doesn't continue after the first century.
Right.
But he trained up men and women like Timothy to be able to continue the work of the ministry elsewhere.